Welcome back to Access Anime. My name is Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough review of OreShura Episode 5. Now, if you remember from last episode, we get to see Shiwa out on a date with Sakagami, but not so much, because apparently Sakagami stands up Shiwa, and he's a no-show for 1 hour. Now, in the background, we do see Ida as well as Natsukawa doing a light checkup on Shiwa. Now, I should point out Sakagami is also in the background, making an outside bet that Shiwa would actually show up on this date, so he had no intention on dating her to begin with. So this is terrible. Now Ida picks up on this right away, and he is sick by it, and he jumps in and he wants to save Shiwa, so he beats the crap out of Sakagami. Now at first it was amazing. We have to see Sakagami getting the shit beat out of him. However, Sakagami is with his friend. They turn around and they beat the crap out of Ida. So Ida is now bleeding, and he's got his ass being handed to him on a silver platter. I feel bad for him. However, Shiwa has been given a weapon by some random person. Now Shiwa, she's going all kendo on Sakagami's ass, and it's amazing. And not just Sakagami, Sakagami's friend's ass as well. And she's actually trying to save Ida. Now at the end of this little fight between, Shiwa and the two boys, she says she's sorry and she apologizes to them. I'm like, why? Not only did Sakagami stood you up, he had no intention on dating you, and he bet on you. I mean, he gives men bad name all over. I don't like this guy, and yet somehow you're apologizing, and then you say you're not even my type. I didn't even want to date you to begin with. I'm like, yeah, because you were trying to make, Ida jealous probably, but still, you said you were sorry? Man, you're too much. Shiwa, you're just too much. Of course, we are taken to a different scene with Natsukawa, and Natsukawa actually tries kissing Ida, and she succeeds. Apparently, she wants this to be, Ida's first kiss, not only with her, but his first kiss ever. And Natsukawa ends up kissing Ida. However, she ends it with a JoJo Bizarre Adventure parody. I'm like, she just ruined an amazing moment. However, it's now plain to see that, Natsukawa is in fact in love with Ida, plain and simple. Now, toward the end of the episode, we find out both Shiwa and Natsukawa are at Ida's house. Apparently, they each sent a private email, to Ida that they'd be over. Natsukawa was going to cook for him, and apparently, Shiwa, her bathroom's broken, so she was going to take a shower over at his house. So the love battle begins, and that's where the episode ends. And I'll hold my final thoughts and rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned. But let's dive right on in. So we open up this episode with Ida, and apparently he's getting a love letter in his locker. Now, we don't know which girl actually gave him this love letter, but apparently a random girl wants to restore what they once had long ago with him. I'm like, really? Okay, the only girl that Ida can think of is Shiwa. I mean, he was friends with Shiwa in the past, and it makes sense. If you think about it, the last words, once had, long ago. That says Shiwa written all over it, or at least that's the conclusion that Ida comes to. But again, that's where we open up with. Moving on to a different scene. Now we see Kugura, which is one of Ida's friends. Now Kugura confirms that it has to be Shiwa, which is the love letter that Ida received. It has to be Shiwa. It makes perfect sense. So we're taken to a different scene between Ida and Shiwa. Now they're in the club room all alone, just the two of them. Kind of awkward, but we see Ida and Shiwa, and they're having lunch together, and Shiwa turns around and starts cuddling up right next to Ida, like she holds him, and she basically tells Ida, I'm just practicing in case I get popular and in case I get a boyfriend. I'm like, really? Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. I'm sure Ida believe you. So of course we are taken to a different scene, and apparently Shiwa's been interrupted by Natsukawa. She's all pissed out. She's furious that Shiwa was actually touching Ida. And she pretends not to notice Shiwa, and she pushes her into her own lunch. I'm like, wow, cat fight. Literally, it was like a cat fight. However, Shiwa turns around and tries to explain to Natsukawa, I'm just practicing, this is a club activity. And there was almost going to be a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference, almost. However, Natsukawa basically explains because they don't have enough funds within the club that they can't buy manga, which would be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, to, continue that kind of conversation. And then it's been explained by Natsukawa that apparently the student council does not recognize their club as an actual club in general. Because of that, the hall monitors are pushing them around more. And then Natsukawa basically says, because the hall monitors in general are pushing us around, we have to take them down. I'm like, how did you come up with that kind of conclusion? That makes no sense, at least in my opinion. But apparently Natsukawa does point out that they need new members in order to be recognized as a real club and to get more funding, so that kind of makes more sense. However, we're taken to a different scene with Natsukawa, and in fact she wants to make a theme song for a club to attract new members. Okay, that does not sound at all worth doing. Okay, let me clarify that. Making a theme song to attract new members sounds idiotic. Unless you're going to do something half nude and very provocative, you're not going to get new members. Not now, not ever, at least in my opinion. So we're taken to a different scene with Shiwa, and God bless this little girl, because you know what, Shiwa, she steps up to bat and she's like, you know what, I've got a song. I'm like, okay, I want to hear this song. What is this song? So Shiwa basically says, my song is called My Connection With You is Like a Dog Barking. What? That's not a song, that's something gone terribly wrong. At least that's how she describes it. My connection with you is like a dog barking. I'm like, okay, let me hear you sing it. So we hear Shiwa actually sing this song, and it's amazing. I was like, wow, this girl can sing. However, Natsukawa could care less. She's like, it's not that good. And then she basically pulls out Aida's little notebook and she starts reading references from it, trying to help, Shiwa with new ideas to make a new song. But no. Aida is just really pissed off. Aida's like, no, don't read it. Too late. Plain and simple, too late. Now we are taken to a different scene with Aida, and apparently Aida is getting another love letter in his locker. I'm like, really? Another love letter? Except this time, Natsukawa sees the letter, or at least sees something that you're hiding. And she notices, oh, does she know? But she doesn't know that it's a love letter, just that, Aida's hiding it from her. So I thought that was definitely worth mentioning. However, we do see Natsukawa and Aida walking home, and Natsukawa turns to Aida and basically says, I'm going to blackmail you, so on and so forth like she did in the past. I'm going to blackmail you, so tell me what your secret is. What are you hiding? And Aida basically says, no, I'm not telling you. This is a no-go. I'm not telling you jack. Because he doesn't want to complicate things. I'm like, dude, why couldn't you do this in the previous episode when you were blackmailed before? I mean, do you really want to be, Natsukawa's fake boyfriend? It looks like it. I'm like, dude, she's blackmailing you again, and this time around, you're not fazed by it, and you say no? What's going on? You must like being her boyfriend. Dude, come on. She's blackmailing you the same way she did before, except this time, you're actually taking a stand to her? Yeah, something must be up. Now, we are taking to a different scene. Now, apparently, there's a random girl. She just comes out of nowhere. And she basically says, so this is your boyfriend, Suzu? Suzu, by the way, is Natsukawa's first name. And apparently, this girl randomly says, so this is your boyfriend? I was like, who is this girl? Who the hell is this girl? And before you know it, Natsukawa, she knows this little girl. Like, how the hell do you know each other? Who is this girl? We don't even know your name. It's like, come on. Apparently, this little girl wants Aida. I'm like, what do you want Aida for? She turns around. This little girl, little blonde girl, turns around and she kisses Aida. And then she says, pillage complete. I'm like, this was a pillage for you? Some pillage. And then she turns around and says, say sis. I'm like, she says the words sis. I'm like, wait a minute, this is Natsukawa's little sister? And why the hell is her little sister infatuated with Aida? We don't know. Other than, this is what we do know. Apparently, Natsukawa's sister shows up because I guess her parents or some random group told her to show up to check up on, her sister for some random reason. We really don't know who sent her there to begin with, but it was well worth mentioning. Now, again, we're thrown with this little girl, and we don't know who the hell she is. Well, other than she's, Natsukawa's little sister. Well, what's her name? So there's a little light information being thrown at us. Her name is Mina, but it's spelled M-A-N-A, but I'm going to call her Mina because that's how I can pronounce it, so bear with me. So Mina apparently is a third-year middle schooler at a private school, and it's an all-girls academy. And she's a middle schooler, and she's a third year, and yet somehow she's infatuated with Aida? I don't even think they know each other. How the hell does she kiss him randomly and get away with that? And Natsukawa just sits down and she takes it, and she's kind of scared. She's not doing anything. And it's just weird. However, we're taken to a different scene the next day with Natsukawa. Now, Natsukawa is cold. She's depressed. I mean, wow, she's just not the same person she usually is. However, we do see Aida, and he's trying to cheer her up, and he does a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference, and I love it. but it doesn't do anything for, Natsugawa. Now we are taking to a different scene with Aida. Now they're swimming outside, and it's gym class, and they're swimming, and Aida gets Natsugawa to go swimming with them. Eventually, of course. And she goes swimming, and she looks amazing in this swimming suit. However, she drowns. She cannot swim. Obviously, Aida comes out of nowhere, and he does CPR on her. But you know what? Something's fishy. I think Natsugawa faked her drowning just so she could kiss Aida to begin with. At least that's what it looks like. Now we are taking to a cutscene with, Shiwa, and she's getting a text from one of her girlfriends, and it's basically telling her, Aida is doing CPR, on Natsugawa, and out of nowhere, Shiwa just drops, her face gets all gloomy, and she runs away. Now we are taken to a different scene the next day. Now it's with Aida, and apparently this is the next day, and Aida is actually taking care of Shiwa because Shiwa apparently has a fever. I don't know what it's from, but she has a fever, so apparently Aida is taking care of Shiwa in general. Now apparently Shiwa wants Aida to wipe her down because she's sweating and she's not feeling good, so she strips half down, and we see Aida taking care of her. Now, it's come to my attention that apparently the only reason why Aida was able to do CPR on Natsugawa is because he tried to learn CPR for Shiwa's sake. So I'm like, dude, don't you see a little pattern? You like Shiwa. Plain and simple. But just putting that out there. Now we are taken to a different scene with Aida. Now apparently he sees some chopsticks on Shiwa's mantle, and apparently those chopsticks were the first chopsticks that Shiwa ever used when, Aida started cooking. Now apparently it means the world to Shiwa to have those, because they mean something to her. And I was like, aww. It's like a little love moment, a little lovey-dovey moment. Now we're taken to a different scene with Aida. Now apparently he's convinced that Shiwa is not the girl that's sending in the love letters. He's convinced it can't be her. No, it can't be. However, we're taken to a different scene with Shiwa, and apparently Shiwa is daydreaming, and she's asking Aida to begin with to do CPR on her. I'm like, and Aida is still in the room, and he's overhearing this, but he's not doing anything, and we hear Shiwa basically say while she's sleeping, Aida, give me CPR, I want CPR. I'm like, what the hell? And then she says, stay with me forever. I'm like, wow, man, you are so lucky to have a friend like that, to have a girl that's your friend like that. I'm like, wow, don't blow it. I'm going to come for you, man, do not blow it. Now we're taken to a different scene with Aida. Now apparently Aida, he gets another love letter. And I was like, dude, who's sending you these love letters? And it says, I miss you? I'm like, no, etc., etc. There's a little more with the letter, of course, but I'm like, I miss you? What? Now apparently there's going to be a girl that will be waiting for Aida on top of the roof after class. I'm like, okay, this got more interesting. Who is this mysterious woman? So I was like, okay, I'll bite. So this girl, he actually knows Aida from the previous life. So we see this girl on the roof, and he tells Aida that he knows Aida from his previous life. This just got so much weird. I don't know where to start and where to end. And I was like, what? And her name is Akashino. I was like, what? So her name is Akashino. I was like, okay, that's an interesting name, but her true name, I guess her last name is called Heaven's Rain. I like her last name though, kind of unique. Now her previous life name, you sitting down, is the Burning Pudding Princess. I was like, dude, what the fuck's going on? I mean, his name is the Burning Fighter, the Burning Fighting Fighter, and hers from her previous life is the Burning Pudding Princess? How did she even know that? I mean, Aida is just freaked the hell out. How did you know? And this girl, she basically turns to him and says, EKME. I got your name from EKME. Apparently near the train station. Apparently, during the whole fight in the train station, when Aida was kicking Sakagami's butt and vice versa, that's where she heard the name because of what he was doing. I'm like, okay. That still does not make any sense, but okay, I'll go with you on that one. So apparently busted, because we see both Natsugawa and Shiwa appear on the rooftop, and they catch this little girl hugging Aida, and that's where the episode ends. Okay, as for my final thoughts. Okay, well, first of all, this little girl, her name is Akashino. What the hell? Are you really from Aida's past life? We don't really know, but this is just fucked up in general. I'm sorry. That's just so freaking weird. And now that Natsukawa as well as Shiwa knows what's up, is this going to be a love triangle fight going on? Or no, it's not a love triangle because that's 3 people to make a love triangle. You got 4 people, so it's a square, a rectangle, something like that. I mean, dude, this is just fucked up. It just gets better and better. But again, that ends it for my final thoughts. Nothing too special there. As per my rating, 3.5 out of 5. I mean, for a slice of life anime series, I should give this a 4 out of 5. But this was just so mind-boggling. I mean, first we get to see Natsukawa's sister, and what's the love interest there? I mean, okay, the love interest, what the hell? But still, I mean, final rating, I have to give this a 3.5 out of 5 because I just don't get it. I mean, there wasn't enough information, there wasn't any fighting, to be honest, but there was a lot of drama and a lot of romance. I was like, I like seeing that, but, you know, a little clarification wouldn't hurt. But again, final rating, 3.5 out of 5, and that ends it for my walkthrough and review of OreShura episode 5. But definitely comment down below, let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down, definitely subscribe, check me out on Twitter, and follow me if you like. But let me know what you thought of this episode, and definitely let me know what you think's going to happen in the next episode that's coming out. But again, guys, that ends it for now, and before I go, I have to say it, and I always say it, you can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.